At the center of the universe, at the border between the light and the dark, stands Castle Grayskull. For countless ages, the heroes of Grayskull have defended the universe against the forces of evil. Walk through the Hall of Living Pictures and learn the history and mystery of the Masters of the Universe. Dive deep into the mythology of Eternia, Etheria, and more. For those who know the stories of Grayskull will come the power. The power to be supreme. The power to be all-knowing. The power to be Legends of Grayskull.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 6.5 of Legends of Grayskull, the fan podcast where we discuss the history, the mystery, the magic, and the mythology of He-Man, She-Ra, Eternia, Primus, Etheria, Golden Books, Ladybird Books, UK Annuals, Filmation, Mike Young Productions, mini comics, full-size comics, anything and everything you can think of that has that Mattel logo at the bottom. I'm Matthew Dooch. That's Sean Scavarna. Sean, how are we doing today?
I'm sick, but I'm here. I'm happy to be here still. So,
yeah.
But I am gonna be we're the drinking dudes today. I got my bottle of water. You got your. I'm guessing that's coffee or something. So there you go.
Don't worry about what's in the cup. The less you ask, the better.
Unless you're holding out on me. Oh yeah. So anyway, we're gonna get down to business with some good master stuff again.
We are. It has been one heck of a week, and I'm ready to just forget all our real world problems.
Yeah, let's talk about Eternia's problems.
That's right, and those who stop them. So Sean, you take it away. This one's yours.
All right. Well, for our half episode this week, we're going to be having a little discussion on a certain multiverse book. So this week, it was my turn to pick a episode, and unlike me, I didn't want to go 2000X. I wanted to have a tie into the events in the comics, so we went with The Search from Filmation. And I'm going to flat out admit the name for this one did nothing for me because I was looking for Starseed. And Matthew heard me the other day, and I'm like, there's a Starseed episode. What the heck's the name of the Starseed episode? Yeah. And then it's like, The Search. You know, it is not the greatest title known to man. I definitely can say that title did not grab me, but everything else about this one is yet another stepping stone in me appreciating Filmation more than I used to for the last 20 years.
I'm getting through to him, guys.
So there we go.
I'm getting through to him.
Yeah, I don't need to be converted because I grew up on it, but there's a part of me where I discount it. There's a difference.
Yeah, it's tough, and you know I think for a lot of people, because they're just going off childhood memories and they're not actually going back to it.
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of it too. And
the repetitiveness, I think, is part for me. Like, I want to see He-Man punching something other than the camera or punching something other than robots, some of that kind of stuff. And it's like the stock animation, it can be discounted. But in this one, you're going to see stock animation that's actually working because it serves the purpose of the story. And it doesn't feel out of place like sometimes it does in some of the later episodes.
I think the biggest thing is do not binge watch Filmation, because when you sit there and binge watch it, that's when you notice everything that's good. Like, oh, I just saw that 2 episodes ago. I saw that here. You know. So I think that's one of the biggest parts there is don't binge watch it, because even when I first got the DVD sets, I would sit down and watch a ton of episodes. Even I found myself getting burned out and like, oh my god, it's just, you know, it's just this again, you know. Whereas like Mike Young Productions, they don't have as many episodes, so even if you binge watch that, it's over pretty quick. But yeah, I think it's a combination of both of that.
Yeah. Yeah, and honestly, like that's where Mike Young for me has a little bit of the advantage over Filmation. Their animation wasn't stock. There were little snippets here and there where they would repeat it. I mean, the transformation sequence, maybe like a look. Like there's always that moment where He-Man looks at Cringer when he's about to turn him into Battle Cat,
Yeah.
and they'll use that even in fight scenes and stuff like that. But for the most part, most of it feels organic. Like this is especially for this episode usually. So, but let's see. From what I remember, this episode was written by David Wise.
Yeah, that's what I was just looking. I forgot to pull out my Filmation guide beforehand. That's what I'm flipping here, trying to see if I can find it.
So, just from my perspective, on the original series, the Filmation series, I feel like David Wise and Larry DiTillio were some of your MVPs for the writing. And this episode definitely proves that because it brings a lot of coolness to the mythos of not only the Masters, but Eternia itself. So, and again, I was pleasantly surprised.
No, it's a fun episode. It's another Zodak episode. And he's really at his hole here. That's the one thing about this book is I wish it had come with an index.
Aha.
I can't even remember if this was a season 1 or a season 2 episode. I want to say season 2, but I'm not sure about that. I know, I'm holding up the whole show here.
There's only so much that I could hold the show up, and then eventually I'm just gonna be like, "Well, here's what happens."
Well, yeah, that's
it's like stall.
We'll go. Oh well, this is the point. Yeah, so I guess it is a season 1. Okay. There's also lots of them that starts with the. I'm finding.
Yeah, and that's like I said, the title of this one. That's why I've never even gone back to it, except for just the other day. It's not a compelling title.
I will say that when I first watched this one, I was not overly impressed. It's not one I saw as a kid, obviously, and I remember I watched it. I was like, okay, and I guess I didn't really get it. I don't know. I first watched it when I was binge watching a bunch of them. Yeah, I don't know where it is. Oh, there it is. Ha-ha!
All there we go.
Say I don't know where it is. But yeah, it's one of those I didn't really care for the first time I viewed it. It was when I was binge watching, so I don't know if that had a part of it. And there's a couple things in here that I don't care for. But especially watching it yesterday and revisiting it here and there, it's grown on me. It's got a really good story premise. So this was season 1. It's written by David Weiss. It was directed by Steve Clark. And the UK original air date was January 10th of 1985.
Okay.
So I mean, it starts off right off the bat. It's in Castle Grayskull. Zodak and the Sorceress are talking, and Zodak's just letting the Sorceress know that there's this cataclysmic event. There's a star seed at the center of Eternia. It's got unlimited power, but it's also got a dark side to it that people who use it will succumb to. And that Skeletor's on his way to get it. So
yeah,
pretty bad. I gotta say, I love the Zodak voice in Filmation. There's just, and I'm not sure who does it. Maybe you know who did his voice, but
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it's Lou Scheimer because it sounds like every Lou Scheimer voice on the series to me. Like, didn't he do? He did Light Hope and stuff too,
right.
And it sounds he's the He-Man equivalent of how Light Hope would be for She-Ra. That same tone and everything.
But there's even just more of there's like a way he like keeps his voice neutral, like while doing it. But he still imparts like there's a dread, or it's really weird to explain. But go listen to this episode or Quest for He-Man. One of the Zodak episodes, he's got this really cool Zodak voice where his voice is staying neutral, but he's still managing to impart like this is great danger. But I don't know. It's really weird listening to it. It's hard to explain.
Yeah, yeah.
But I love that Zodak voice. And seriously, the dialogue in this is amazing. I was blown away that I didn't remember how great it was. This whole there's a sorceress Zodak scene, and then the Adam Tila scene we get where they're playing around with each other and goading each other. They're investigating tremors that have been reported, which ties into what Skeletor's doing because he's digging to the heart of Eternia. But yeah, it's great dialogue. Everyone's really in character, which we stress a lot. It's funny. I think you even mentioned when you're like, after you watch The Search, you're like, we keep kind of doing the same episodes over and over again. And it's like, well, that's because we're doing the best of Filmation. These are the characters when they're written right, when the stories are good and meaty, and and you feel like the state of the universe is in danger. So,
especially in this one, because the fallout of depending what happens here of who gets the star seed, there's no guarantee that the person that gets the star seed is actually going to use it well, even if they're the good guy. And that's part of what I really love about this. It's like, this is one of those moments in any of the He-Man stories where there's this, maybe something bad could happen here, even if the good guy wins.
Right.
That's not, as a kid, there's that certain like nightmarish thing of, I don't want to see my hero turn bad. This is,
right.
I didn't sign up for this,
Yeah, it's though, like I said, the older you get, the more you really think about the ramifications of this story.
Yeah.
And I will read the quote from Zodak here in the beginning here because I love that. There is only one person on this planet who may prevent this catastrophe. The one with the powers of He-Man. The man called Adam. And that would have blown my mind as a kid. Like he knows who He-Man is. Like, that was always a big deal. Like, if someone else, same with Queen Marlena in The Rainbow Warrior, where she hints that she knows.
Which is a great moment. That's definitely one of my favorite Filmation moments.
Yes, it is. And honestly, so is this one. And the way Zodak does it, he's just like the man called Adam. Like he's like all knowing, and it's really played up. This scene's good. It's really played up better when Mike Young Productions did it.
Yeah.
In Awaken the Serpent, that was also a great moment when Zodak's just like, here, we need He-Man.
I love that moment. I absolutely love that moment.
Yeah, and that one's better just for the fact that Adam is there and he's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Who?
Well, the best part about that whole sequence for me is I just love that Zodak is so matter of fact in that movie. He goes, He-Man is needed, and he holds out the sword, and Adam takes it. And then there's Zodak, just blank face, and then I like that he's about to do it. And he's like, could you at least turn around? And Zodak's there, blank face, and Adam's like, fine. And then he does it right in front of him, and I'm like, that's awesome. I love it.
And that's basically this moment in the Filmation series without Adam actually there knowing that he knows. But it's really neat. And it shows you who Zodak is, that he's this all-knowing guy. And he's talking here about how he can't interfere and everything, which is a load of hooey, as we'll find out later.
Hey, here's one question for you, though. Yeah. And I was thinking of this the other night watching it. When Zodak says the power of He-Man, there was a part of me going, shouldn't he say the power of Grayskull? And then the other part of me goes, well, maybe him saying the power of He-Man does have that implication of before Adam, there might have been someone else who had to be He-Man, like the legacy of that hero on Eternia or whatever. So it's one of those things where I didn't know what your take on that was, because I know you like that line. So thanks for reminding me about thinking of that.
I think it was just, it's the one with the powers of He-Man. So I'm thinking he's meaning like the super strength, the endurance, I think we're just saying like oh, we need the powers of Superman. We need X-ray vision. We need freeze breath.
Okay.
Whatever.
All right. Gotcha.
Whatever. There's too long of a list. I can't list them all here.
Sure.
But and whatever DC's added in the past 5 minutes, they've probably gotten like 3 powers since we started recording.
At least. Yeah.
Sorry. I know you're a Superman fan.
He just dropped in one more just now. You don't even know.
I had to take a little jab at it there.
It's all right. It's all right.
I mean,
I know he's overpowered. I get it.
But that's all I thought he meant is just the powers of He-Man. His, and even his goodness, his power of good. Just the different abilities of He-Man is what is needed. Is what I took it as. So then you got that nice scene with Adam and Teela, and anybody who says that all Teela does is get on Adam, watch this scene because this is just nice playful banter. Adam wants to head back to the palace. She wants to keep him going, so she like goads him and eggs him into a race. To the next ridge. They're on sky sleds, and Orko and Cringer are trying to keep up. For some reason, other than to have them in the story.
Basically, yeah.
And then you're probably
ahead.
going to say the same thing I'm about to, so go ahead.
I don't know. I just liked how he races off in front of her in this whole sequence, and there's actually a moment between the viewer and Adam where Adam's like, man, playing the role of a carefree prince is really hard sometimes, or something along those lines. I don't remember the actual lines, but I dug that where it's like his, like I'm putting on this persona. This isn't really what I want to do. I have to do it.
Yeah, because he pushed the sky sled so fast that he actually lost control and fell off. And then he mentions that trying to keep up this act of being the fun-loving prince is harder than it seems. Or that's not an exact quote, but it is. The fun-loving prince is an act. He explicitly states it.
Yes.
So here again, I know all our viewers are sick of hearing me saying it, but
say it again. Come on.
It's an act.
It is.
Go listen to Adam. Go watch the search. Listen to Adam. It is an act. That's all it is. And you know what was nice actually was seeing him fall from the sky sled and just stick the landing and just take the landing. Because all too often, whenever Adam's in the slightest amount of peril, that's where He-Man would come in, Yeah. So I like that David just let Adam fall and just recover. Like, he's still a competent warrior. He's strong enough to take a fall like that, even as Adam. Like, you don't need to bring He-Man in for every little thing. Yeah. You don't need to, as Sean likes to say, you don't need to bring him in because there's a cake burning in the kitchen.
There's moments on this show feels that way, but yes, and it also shows he's at least trained. That's the other thing is Teela and Man at Arms usually are the ones trying to get him to go through weapons training, and so it's like, he is capable of doing some stuff without needing to resort to He-Man. I mean, Secret of the Sword even proved that. Right. He didn't even resort to turning into He-Man until later into the thing, and he was taking care of Horde soldiers all on his own. And
I love that transformation to that whole scene there with in the village of Thamor.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. We'll get to that.
But it was still cool. It's like Adam, and then there's Bo, and it's like, hey, Adam's taking care of business for once. That's pretty cool,
Yeah, and he got the opportunity to because he didn't even have to worry about a secret identity over there because he's like,
exactly.
I'm free for the moment, so I can just do it. Here's the exact quote. Duh. Read your book, Matt. Acting like a fun-loving prince sure is hard work. So, and it does say over here that Lou Scheimer is the voice of Zodak. So good ear.
Woohoo! I win,
Sean.
I don't know what I win, but I win.
You win it all. You win the Starseed. Here you go.
I win being sick. I win my runny nose.
Excuse me. So there's a night, and that's when the sorceress summons him. So, then she explains that, she didn't even summon him. She actually went there. That was weird, too, that she actually took the time to travel as Zor and go get him.
This moment I had a weird thing about. I don't know if you do or not.
Well, I was just about to say, go ahead.
The weird thing for me, first off, the telepathy not being a thing, because I that made more sense to me that she would be at Grayskull.
Right.
So it's
Because
like Zodak's there.
They already were. Yeah, they were
Yeah.
at Grayskull already.
And so like there's an element of why would you do that, and then on top of that, there's a excuse that Adam does of, well, how am I going to go back there if Tila's going to see me leave, and she tells him how to pilot the sky sled in order to let Tila know that he's going back to the palace, and I'm like, how would she know that? And on top of that, why would she know that? That's just, it was such a weird little, like, it's a plot contrivance, I guess is the term, where it's like she just gives him that and it's like, hey, that's a great idea. But there's a part of me going, she's the sorceress. She's not man at arms. How would she know how to do that? But that's just me thinking it through too much, I guess.
I think so.
There you go.
No, you know me. Every opinion is valid. But the dialogue, the way I took it was she just said do it, not necessarily that she taught him how to do it. Like he knew how to do it. But I kind of actually that little bit of dialogue I kind of liked because it showed like it kind of goes with this the being the fun loving prince sure is hard work. Like there's times where he's sitting there and he's just like, I'm out of excuses. What kind of excuse can I make? And then she's like, well, why don't you just send your sky sled back to the palace and she'll think you went there, you know? He's like, oh yeah, that's good. I'll set the autopilot, like. I kind of dug that like he's at it. Like we said in an earlier episode, like he sits in bed at night like making up excuses, and he's like, well, I didn't have time to last night. Damn it, what am I gonna do?
I already said fishing. Right. Now what am I gonna say?
That made it a little
that
more
for 2 weeks.
And it went. I think, and that's what it was. It was going along with that. I think David really wanted to take this opportunity to remind everybody that that this was an act, that it's actually something he's working at rather than just how he is. What I thought was the whole sequence is odd with Sorceress and Zodak are at Grayskull. Zor flies to get Adam. They go back to Grayskull, and then Adam sets out to find where the Starseed is. When Adam and Tila are already in the area that they're supposed to be in because they're investigating the tremors that are set off by Skeletor's drilling machine. So it's like we have this imminent catastrophe, and we're wasting time going like back and forth. That's the part that I felt was a little contrived. I mean, it's wasting a lot of time, unless that's all part of Zodak's plan too. I don't know, maybe.
I think the only reason, now that I think about it, the only reason that they had to do that was that finally was the moment where us as viewers, along with He-Man, get to see the mythology of what the Starseed's all about, because she does use the mirror to show this is the deal, and she shows them the galaxy. And that is where we get the foundation. I don't know if they did it because of this, but in the live action movie, and we use it even as like an homage here on our show with at the center of the universe between the border of the light and the dark. It's like this is the moment in the show where you get that at the center of the universe, the starseed exploded. It was part of the Big Bang, and that created everything. Yep. And the starseed is now located at the center of Eternia, which then creates the idea that now Eternia is the center of the universe. And I'm like, the minute they went there on this episode, my jaw hit the floor, and I'm like, that's where it came from. Yes. And if it's not from there, that's just the craziest amount of serendipity between one writer writing it one way and another writer writing it the other way, but it all worked out. That was crazy.
No, it was pretty established that I know it was in the Filmation series Bible that Eternia was at the center of the universe. Obviously, the 87 movie expanded upon that. I don't know how far back it goes. That's my only thing.
It doesn't go back that far because I know on some of the stuff pre-Filmation, like there's that big LP record. And that one, the narrator actually says that Eternia is somewhere in the farthest depths of the universe. So it's like this pocket corner that's hidden that nobody remembers anymore is Eternia.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where it's like, okay, so now we
Yeah.
establish here's the center of the universe in this. 87, then we have the same thing in the movie and all
Like
that.
I said, I can guarantee it was always in the Filmation Bible. Like I said, I don't know what the DC stuff, probably not the pre-Filmation like the Alcala stuff and all that.
I doubt highly there, yeah.
But I mean, really, even saying it's in the farthest depths of the universe doesn't contradict that it could be at the center of the universe. Because those would be, if we're at the edge, farthest could be.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a little more unspecific. It doesn't contradict, but it also doesn't corroborate. So
I guess the way I look at it in that wording is, to me, that means it's off in some corner far. It's like what Luke Skywalker says. Yeah. If you're looking at a center of the universe, you're on the planet farthest from. And it's kind of that feeling of Eternia would be that versus the center of the universe. But I just like that that's there. Because it does... there's like a weight to that now. And there's like an establishment now in where this is all being taken place and everything.
No, I like it. I like that they actually went into the mythology, like you said, with the window of spirits. They show, how the universe was formed, the starseed, and they showed, they even showed the chamber where it's in now. Which this is where I think Mike Young got their inspiration for the Orb of Power chamber in that series, because it's very crystalline and everything.
Yeah.
Which always seemed out of place in that Grayskull, but here it really works. I like it being like you get to the center of Eternia and it's just this crystalline chamber, so different from what you've dug through to get there. It's a really nice visual. So then I also like I just like seeing things you don't normally see. There's a really neat shot while they're talking to a sorceress, and it was earlier when it was just Zodak 2, where it's like a shot from the sorceress's viewpoint, like you can see like down the stairs of her throne and like back, and you see that long... It's nothing really, but the background shows like this long tunnel and then like stairs going up. But I just like seeing that kind of... because you don't see a whole lot of different interiors in Castle Grayskull. So just seeing like kind of the hallway that they would come down to get to the throne room and everything, like that was a neat perspective. Because normally you always get that shot of behind the heroes looking up at the sorceress. So
yeah.
It was nice to see that unique... it's probably not unique just to this, but just a unique thing. Just like in Daymar, when we saw that other room that the sorceress was in, it's like it's always cool just to see a little more in Castle Grayskull. And so then He-Man, Orko, and Battlecat, they all head off to find Skeletor. I will say, I think this is one episode that could have benefited from not having Orko in it. And I think there could have been a better way to write it. He kind of annoys me as he in this episode, which usually he doesn't this much. And I think that's when I first saw it. I think that's what detracted me from it, was the Orko-ness of it, because it's really not needed in this story, except for the
it's like
part.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was just gonna say is when we talked about it privately, I brought up to you, it reminds me of Temple of Doom, because Orko is your short round character, and short round is every kid who's like rooting for Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
That's your avatar in that movie. And in the case of this episode in particular, Orko is every kid sitting there in front of their TV seeing He-Man getting put to the test. And by the end of this, you're seeing him in a situation where even he's tempted.
Right.
That's scary. It's like, like you're supposed to just, okay, we're good, off and running. No, it's how, what all of that stuff at the end. It's a nice moment for him to be that person there. So,
yeah,
but yeah, he has his moments in this. I agree, though. He has like some unfunny comedic moments that for me, I was like when he hits into the tree and he flattens when they're doing the race and all that, and it's like. All right, okay, but he didn't annoy me in this nearly as much. Apparently, it's kind of funny.
And it's one specific animation, and I don't know why it bugs me, but it's that one where Orko like closes his eyes and claps like he's That
Oh,
animation, every time I see it, it just he closes his eye. He's like clapping for like I don't know. He just looks like possessed. I don't know. There's something about that animation that's always bugged me, and they use it twice in this episode. I think pretty close to each other. It's when he busts out of the rocks, and then at the end there, like it's. I don't know
yeah.
that animation bugs me. You got your weird things about music
I
videos. There's something about that piece of animation that just every time I see it, I'm like, it's too much. It's too like we're in the middle of a battle here, and Orko just like a kid at the circus, like oh clowns,
yeah.
elephants, yeah.
I think it's funny on the level of I finally found what the chink in the armor is in Filmation for you is this, whereas for me it's like glowing at anything. But no, Orko clapping just gives you the like what the crap is happening here. I love it. I love it. We finally found yours.
Oh, there's more. Just most of the time we won't cover those episodes, you know.
Oh man, I like I said, I went. Where's the landmine? I'm just gonna jump on it for that Damar the Demon one with how I had to talk about my fear on that thing. Yeah.
I think this is more equivalent to your flying fish than your Bonnie Tyler.
Oh yeah. I was gonna and that thing. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to.
No, nobody likes that thing. No.
I love it more and more every
Cullen,
day.
The other day, Cullen posted something in the group, and he goes, "That reminds me of that flying fish." Hey, Sean, and I'm like, "Oh, I hate that thing." Like, oh, I spit venom when I think of that thing. It just pisses me off every time.
It's great. So anyway, so He-Man, He-Man and them, they all catch up with Skeletor. There's some nice Merman Beastman dialogue in this too. David Weiss really knows how to write these characters where they're arguing over who's going to be second in command when Skeletor takes over. It's just some fun dialogue. You really feel like they're characters again instead of just goon number one, like they can become quite a bit in the show.
It's true, and I think part of the appeal of this episode is the character selection for me too. Like it's so 8-back card. He-Man, I mean, you have the only people that you're missing really are Stratos and Teal. No, Teal is in it. Stratos and Man at Arms, and that's it. You have almost all of them are the traditional. These are your first wave He-Man guys, and it really there was something charming to just have Merman and Beastman be the only people along for the ride with Skeletor on this, going like, this is the mighty triumvirate. This is how it should be for an episode or two. Right. I like that.
And that's why, and obviously season 1 episode, but it's a little further along in season 1, like the back half. So they catch up with Skeletor. I love once again here. Skeletor's actually got a decent plan. He's he's digging through to the Heart of Eternia, but he's ready. He's got like these booby traps set up, and He-Man triggers an alarm he set up, and basically he's got two explosives that he sets off, one in front of He-Man and one behind He-Man, and traps him in in what I think he says miles of rock or something like that. Like it's a solid plan. He didn't even allow He-Man to get back out of it, like even stop him from following him. He's like, "You're not following me, and you're not getting out." And he just keeps going. He's like, "Whatever."
And I like that even the Beastman and Merman were like, "Well, how are we getting out of here if we?" And I like that they aren't thinking through the plan. And Skeletor's like, "When I get the Star Seed, who gives a crap?
Right.
Like we got this covered once I get the power."
Yeah, he says something about I'll be able to cover the universe or cross the cosmos in an instant or something like. Yeah, it's like this is nothing. This is a one-way trip because even he's pushing the drilling machine to its max, and Beastman and Merman are worried about it blunting the blade and they'll be stuck. But he's just he's taking a one-way trip to the center of Eternia, and it's all or nothing. Like he's all in, and it's nice seeing Beastman and Merman competent enough to even question this plan. Like that's. Really cool.
That's how it should be. I mean, I never saw Beastman as being a brain, but I like that Merman, even in the mini comics, Merman's a little. He's got his own plans going on. That it's the whole I'm biding my time with Skeletor because I'm trying to get this other thing done, and that will be my benefit. So the idea that, he's along for the ride, and then they argue, like you said, about who's going to be number 2,
right.
and all that stuff. And the one thing I got to give credit to the designers and the animators, though, and this is just one of those little things that amuses me every time, is I love how when Skeletor builds something, there has to be skulls on something, one way or the other. And in this case, the drill looks like a typical, this is a big mining drill. But then I love that the levers have the skulls on them, because you can tell that's Skeletor's.
I gotta say, and every cartoon does this at some point, but do drilling machines bother you? They've
like the logistics, you mean?
Like actually, like it's always even as a kid, like I don't know if you watched Ninja Turtles, didn't you? Or is that
Yeah.
Like, how Shredder had the, I can't remember the name, but he had the drillers to reach down to the Technodrome and everything, and like this here, and like just the logistics of it. Always watching, I'm like, well, this looks like it shouldn't. I don't know. There's something about it that just watching it drill through, and like even here, like the top of their vehicle's open and it's got like a window screen. But even still, it's like, well, no, shouldn't it be more like all 4 sides of you than like...
Yes, I agree with that, because you would figure there'd be stuff falling in there all the time.
Yeah, like...
like debris and
somehow
stuff.
They're drilling and they're leaving like a 6-foot ceiling above themselves. Whereas... I don't know. It's like and even since I was a kid, like the drilling machines on Turtles, they always bother me, even though those were fully enclosed. But so I've never gotten the logistics of like a self-propelled drilling machine. Like, I don't know if they actually exist. Maybe they do, and I sound like a complete idiot. But all the big drilling equipment I see is more like oil wells and stuff, where they're actually like, set up, tripod or whatever. They have like a silo, and then they drill down in. I just... Self-propelled drilling machines have always bothered me in animation as a kid, and I don't know why.
I actually would love to see the like legit version of this episode, instead of it just being here's a 20-minute Filmation cartoon where the little bits keep falling in on the on Skeletor, Merman, and Beastman. You just hear Skeletor, ow, why did you not build this better? And Beastman, we didn't have time, or what?
We just threw a drill on top of this sled that we had.
Yeah, basically, it's a drill toboggan, or something. I thought the same thing with it's like, we're using a convertible, It's like, what the crap would you need that for? You should just have it be like the attack track with a drill on the front, the Filmation attack track, where it's all closed in. They're in an enclosed space, just sitting there or standing there. The drill just keeps going forward. You're good to go.
Yeah.
But in this case, I thought the same thing, but I'm like, out of all the stuff going on here, I'm not going to nitpick the crap out of that.
And it is a nitpick. The only reason I bring it up is because, honestly, ever since I was a kid, drilling machines have always bothered me in cartoons. I think that's mainly it. Is like, even as a kid, I'm like, well, the hole shouldn't be that big. It should only be, and it really should only be the size of the drill. Like, because here again, like the drill's this big, and then the vehicle behind it is this big. That vehicle shouldn't even be getting through, because the drill
exactly.
I know, I'm putting logic at it. The only reason I bring it up, like I said, is because even as a kid, this kind of stuff bothered me. I was a weird kid, apparently.
Figure... No, I mean, I wouldn't have thought of it when I was a kid, because I would have seen enough cartoons doing that I would have just accepted it based on, I've seen it how many other times, and it's never been a problem. But the difference is, looking at it now as a 40-something man, it's like, that shouldn't work. And the fact that they're worried about the tip being blunted should not be even remotely on your list of worries right now, because the fastness that they're not going ridiculously fast, but they're going fast enough that anything they're doing could fall in at a moment's notice. Plus, they even use the explosives to blow up the stuff around He-Man for that booby trap. You mean to tell me that didn't lead to a cave-in?
Right,
because it's well placed, but there's no supports. They're not building anything behind them to keep this from falling in after they drill through it. That's like when you're mining, there are supports, and So yeah, there's a whole bunch of flawed logic just to get to the star seed here, but we're just gonna
Well, and I guess that's what makes it interesting. This is the last thing I'll say about it because we are. I know we're nitpicking. I know we are, but you know what? I'm doing it anyways. Is the fact that they put that line in there about what do we do if the tip gets too blunt? It's like, okay, so we're worried about that real world physics problem, but all the rest of this is fine. Like,
yeah.
But anyway, so Skeletor keeps taking off. He-Man and Battle Cat, they're saying how long it'll take to get through there. And
I like that too.
yeah, well, yeah, I like it. I do. And He-Man has Orko try to do a spell to hopefully move faster. And
Yep.
And Orko does a spell and like one rock moves out. So but then
I like the line He-Man says there though.
Yeah, I forget what it was.
He says that if we move at that rate, we're going to be out of here in 5 years.
Yeah,
and I like that. It's one of those. It reminds me of my dad. When my dad didn't have patience to teach me how to do something,
right.
It usually was, "Why don't you go see what your mom's doing? I'll handle this." Basically,
right. Yeah, because that's right. He said it'll take him hours to punch through. Orko does that, and he goes, "Oh yeah, that'll take us years at that rate."
Yeah.
And so then He-Man and Battle-Cat get to it, and it does actually take them a little bit. That's what I liked. Here again, it's allowing Skeletor to get farther and farther ahead, and it's done well here. Here again, it's good pacing, and you buy that Skeletor is able to keep this lead on He-Man. Good writing. And then we go back to Skeletor and everybody, and they did run into a problem where the blade got, like they said earlier, the blade got blunt enough to where there's this one rock that it can't get through, and they're pretty much stuck. And then we cut back to He-Man, and I like how they did it because He-Man really didn't end up punching through it. They weakened it enough at the base where he was able to do a mighty foot slam, and the rocks kind of like settle down and leave them a gap at the top. So that was neat too. So they really didn't contradict themselves earlier that it would take them hours to punch their way through it. They just found a better way.
And I mean, part of the thing, like on Filmation, He-Man can almost be like Superman, where every episode, depending on what is needed by the plot, he fills that void. And in this one, I like that it was so much. It's like the Curse of the Spellstone, and that's like you and I said it, and I'm saying it again. We're going to these episodes, and it's not on purpose. It's more by accident that we're having these moments. But like he wouldn't punch through the floor in that one when they were caught in the caverns and all that stuff because it would take forever for him to punch his way out of there. Right. And I like that same thing happened here. I like it when you give the heroes a limit,
right?
And otherwise it's too easy,
right? Right. You got to give them their limits. And I like not everything being physical. I know some people hate that, but I like that some things have to be solved by brains. That's one of the things I've always liked about He-Man is he knows when to fight, and he knows when there's a better way or when he needs to find a better way. So and so then they catch up to Skeletor, and Skeletor takes Orko hostage. And this is basically the whole reason Orko's in the episode, is this point here. That's the only reason we've kept him around this long. He's the hostage, and so He-Man has to finish clearing the way for Skeletor, or else he's gonna, kill Orko, whatever. And I like that. I like that He-Man's, he can't get Orko out right away, and so he knows he has to play along right now. And so he's leading Skeletor to the Star Seed. He's getting him the rest of the way there. And it doesn't feel contrived really to me. I didn't question it too much. It fits in nicely.
No, it does, and it's definitely, it goes a long way to show the humanity of the character that way because I think there are people out there that would have been like, all I do was run up and I punch Skeletor so hard his jaw would fall off or
Right.
something. It's like, sometimes you got to have finesse when you deal with a situation like that. So
Yep.
I enjoyed that. But there is something that it's like your heart kind of sinks a little watching that, going like, but he's helping him now. It's like he can't help it, but he's helping him.
Yeah.
And so I like that it sets up the viewer to just kind of go, oh, this is off balance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even Beastman's all cocky with him. He's calling him slave and everything.
Yeah,
He's like, come on, move these rocks.
Yeah, it's like I wanted to see the look on He-Man's face doing the whole, I'm about to break my foot up in your ass. that whole thing,
right.
like, slave.
Just wait till Orko's out of that bubble. That's No, it was nice seeing that. Like I said, these characters are well written. It was good seeing the villains, how they instantly go from, oh no, it's He-Man, to, oh yeah, let's go move that for us, and they're just sitting in the back of the cruiser, just let's go.
Yeah.
So that it's these really nice moments throughout here, and then they finally get to the crystal chamber there, where the Starseed is somewhere. And those crystal demons that show up to oppose them, those are really neat designs, and those are actually originally appeared in an episode of Black Star. So that was a little Filmation liked to reuse some stuff from some of their other shows here and there.
The only one of those I ever caught was probably the dragon from Black Star on the one episode. That was just like, no, that's Black Star's dragon. I know that much. But
yeah, he was there, cool. And then the lion from Colossal Awakes, the stone lion that comes to life, that was from Tarzan.
Oh, cool.
And I believe that design was also used for Claudine in the She-Ra series. I think it was the same design reused again. So.
That's the whole every part of the Buffalo mentality, boy.
Yeah.
It's like, we got that thing, let's do it again.
There was from A Friend in Need, the bad guy, I can't remember his name right now, but that was just Ming the Merciless from Flash Gordon recolored.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man.
Zartan? No, Zartan's G.I. Joe. Jarvan? Something like that. Sean knows I can't let something go in my mind when I can't remember.
No, I'm letting you have it. I'm just here. I'm good.
I think it was like Jarvan or Jarman or something like that.
I want to say the J is probably more the way I remember it. I can't think of the name either, but the more you say it, I'm like, I vaguely remember what the name was too.
It's a J. I know it's a J. I had to work my way to it though. But yeah, no,
from Z all the way to
it's one of those exercises, where you got to string the stuff along. It's like it's like bread, sandwich, tuna sandwich, fish. Oh yeah, I got to feed the fish. It's that. But anyway, so yeah, Filmation loved reusing their stuff, and that's how they kept all the animation in the U.S. But they look great here. They fit in with the whole chamber and everything, like they don't look out of place.
Yeah.
And they pose a pretty significant threat there, as they incapacitate Skeletor and everyone pretty easily. And then He-Man kind of gets the upper hand there, and he's making Skeletor agree to his demands before he saves him.
Yep.
And He-Man would have saved him either way. But there's just this nice back and forth where He-Man's like, okay, I'm in charge now. If I break you out of there, you need to help me by using your force field on these demons. And Skeletor doesn't want to at first, and then they're getting closer, and He-Man gets him to agree to do that, and then he'll leave if He-Man saves him, which of course he says right away is a lie.
Of course.
But it's good character interaction, and it allows Orko to get freed at that point. And Orko goes and finds a Starseed and does a little switcheroo on it. Which reminds me of Lessons, too, actually. The Larry DiTilio 2000X. True. He does the switcheroo on him there. But this switcheroo, I honestly, when the moment happens, there was a part of me... And this, again, I have to automatically go, it's Filmation, in a sense. And I hate being that guy. But when you see the switcheroo, there is an element of when Skeletor's touching that,
he doesn't get that that's rubber.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
It's like the Starseed.
the fact that they used a bouncy ball to
Yeah.
replace the star seed, I was rolling my eyes at. I'm like,
Yeah,
really?
yeah. To me, like if you touch the Star Seed, it would be the equivalent of if Thanos touched the Infinity Stone or
Right.
something. It would be like this power is surging through you, and instead it's like here's a bouncy ball, and,
I didn't.
and Skeletors believe in it.
Yeah, I didn't even really feel. I mean, I could take it or leave it, but I really didn't feel the switcheroo was needed here. I think it
Hmm.
could have been just as good, just He-Man and Skeletor racing towards it, and He-Man getting there first.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, if you're gonna switch it, why couldn't he have just taken like one of the crystals lying around and stuck it there, or something? Um, yeah, the bouncy ball. The bouncy ball. That was another
The
moment where
bouncy
I'm like,
ball.
really? Like he pulls a bouncy ball out and then he paints it somehow. Because that was the other thing.
Yeah,
He pulled the bouncy ball out and it's like red with like an orange yellow star on it,
yep.
and it's like, and so I don't know. It's like if you're gonna use magic to change that color, why didn't you just take something that was already here?
Exactly.
That was the Orko gag that fell flat for me. I'm like, really? You did that after all this? You did that?
Yeah, yeah.
But other than that, seeing them dispose of the crystal demons, they get to the starseed chamber, and here's the moment that makes the show. It's one of the top filmation moments where He-Man holds the starseed, and and he starts feeling the power, like you said, just by holding it, the power starts affecting him,
Hmm.
and
And he was warned about that,
he
so
was
it's it. But in this moment, I like that he's looking at Skeletor, going, "I could eradicate all the
yes.
evil," and that it's like that moment for me. It was very Thanos. It's got this like, "Oh crap,"
Right. He
like.
starts off just saying, you've lost Skeletor, we've stopped you, and then like you can tell like he's more talking to Starcy than to Skeletor
Yeah.
himself because you can tell it's like influencing him, and he's like, yeah, I could eradicate everything. I could use this to stop you. I could eradicate all evil in the universe. I could rule. He says
Hmm.
that I could rule. And Skeletor, he realizes exactly what's happening. He starts egging him on.
I like that too. He's the snake in Eden in that way. The whole "you're not so much different than me" and all that.
Yeah,
Oh, I like that too.
it's very much like the '87 movie. The loneliness of good equal to loneliness of
Yes,
evil? It's that same concept.
exactly.
It's okay. You're good and I'm evil, but what's really the difference between those? I mean, they're so far on the opposite end of the spectrum that they almost, you make the case that they wrap around and they can meet very easily.
Hmm.
And they can. We've seen it in comics and movies all over the decades where your ultimate good gets too much power or gets or through
They step over that
some
line.
tragedy, yeah, something happens that pushes them over the edge, and it's like the farther you up, the farther you had to fall. So
Yeah.
Skeletor goads him into it, and now we get the sorceress using telepathy, trying
Now we do.
trying to help him out here a little bit, and Orko's over there like, He-Man, what are you doing? You don't look right.
Hmm. Yeah, that's like I said. That's your short round moment right there.
Yeah.
You got Orko, who's every child looking at this, going, "That's not how He-Man's supposed to be," and he's the one that's trying to talk him back off the edge. And
Right.
I like that. That for me kind of saved Orko being in the episode
Yeah.
because I do remember seeing this one as a kid, and there was that sense of if Orko wasn't there, he probably would have done it.
Yeah.
Like Sorceress is just a voice in his head at that point, but the Starseed is right there, and he's holding
Right.
this thing, and it's really manipulating him, and we could have had a whole different filmation series after
Yeah.
this episode.
Yeah. No, it's definitely, and I think once again here, and it's a concept that has popped up again and again. Eternity War did it too. It's it's it answers the question we posed it already in our podcast, even though we're barely a dozen episodes in. Uh, what makes Adam the difference? What makes him worthy of He-Man? And it's that humanity, it's his friends, it's his family, it's right here, that's what pulled him back. It's the Sorceress and Orko. They pulled him back from the edge. You know, in Eternity War,
Yeah.
they did the similar thing where he realizes he has to give up the power of He-Man, or else they're still gonna lose even if he wins. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's getting to the essence of who He-Man is and why Adam is worthy of this power.
Yeah, the main thing to me, and this is only in the last couple years I've figured this out, is Adam is somebody that doesn't actually crave it. He's somebody that sees it as, this is a tool for me to use to protect the people I love and to protect the world that I love. He never looks at it as, I want to rule,
Right.
I want to do this, I want to do that. He always sees it as, I have to pick up the sword for now,
Right.
and then once that danger is over, I can put the sword back down
Right.
and I can be myself again. Because
Exactly.
that's the humanity of He-Man there. It's always Adam. It has to go back to him.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, the Starseed is one of the most ultimate things that he's seen power-wise. And at the end, even when you're seeing him in that moment, you're like, this isn't who you are. And I like that's a huge moment of, like, for me, sitting there the other night going, I love that this was brought so clearly across
Yeah.
in this episode.
Absolutely. And so luckily He-Man's able to throw off the temptation, and they at that point they just take off out of there. They're like, Skeletor, we're done with you. We've got the Star Seed,
Yep.
whatever. Peace. And they take
Yeah.
off. Like,
There's something about Skeletor's run in this one that makes it even more cowardly
yeah.
than some of the other ones, because it's just like, oh crap, like maybe he'll change his mind. Oh God,
Yeah.
like, if he runs out of there.
Yeah, so it didn't need a big confrontation at the end here. It didn't need He-Man and
No.
Skeletor. It was the race to the Star Seed, and once that's over, they head back to Castle Grayskull to put the Star Seed away. They give it to Zodak, who don't know what he makes it vanish. Don't know what he does with it. But it's not destroyed. It's here. It can show up again. And then Zodak does the big reveal that he's the one who told Skeletor where to find it.
Yeah, jerk.
Jerk, yes. And he says that that the quest to find the Star Seed was a test of He-Man's virtue and great powers. That basically saying the same thing. He's Adam, you are so powerful as He-Man. You could do the same thing. You could do whatever you wanted. And so the Cosmic Enforcers, being the neutral party, have to test you once in a while to make sure you're still worthy of that power and that we can trust you with it.
Yeah, it's like it's like the 60 to 90 day evaluation on the job,
Right.
basically, from the Cosmic Enforcers. Like, well, we better do it now. If we wait till April, it's going to be too late, and then he's going to complain we haven't evaluated him this year or whatever.
Right. But
I like that. I do actually.
Yep.
But then there's a part of me that goes, well, does that mean he does that for Skeletor to see how evil he is, to make sure he can actually go up against He-Man? Because like he's like, hey, Starseed, this is good stuff. But
Right.
then it's like a couple months later, it's like, how's he going to make Skeletor more evil to go up against the He-Man that he already knows probably won't go over the line now?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but I liked it. I liked it that there's that and it hammers home what the Cosmic Enforcers were in this series. They're the eternal checks and balances. Like, we can't have anybody too powerful, and they know that if He-Man were to turn evil, that would tip the scales so greatly in the favor of the evil that the universe could potentially be destroyed. Like,
for those of you listening on podcast apps and not the YouTube, Matthew has pulled up the cover of issue 4 of He-Man and the Masters of the Multiverse to underline his point.
yes, and that's where next episode, guys, we're doing this one. So tune in. We're doing He-Man and the Masters of the Multiverse number 4, and this is the reason we wanted to do it. Because it shows that if He-Man were to turn evil, the scales would be too far. And so this whole Filmation episode is built on that premise, that that Zodak is tasked with making sure that Adam is the right man for the job, that He-Man is the force for good, and it's something even the DC comic Fate is the Killer had a similar setup. That was another one where Zodak came and gave He-Man a prophecy, and it was kind of a test type thing. So this is a recurring theme here as we go through, and I think it underlines a point that for all the flaws that this new DC-ish series has, they have done some homework. They do understand some of the mythos. But yeah, the one thing I felt was missing at the end here was Sorceress kind of reacted, but He-Man was just kind of like, a test, really? Okay.
Yeah, if I was He-Man in that case, I probably would have been a lot more pissed and probably grabbed Zodak and been like, dude, really? Like,
right.
You're putting the fate of an entire planet at stake, and even the cosmos at stake. And this is I just needed to get your 90-day evaluation. Really? Like there is, I almost feel like He-Man always looks kindly upon most people in filmation. I think there should have been an element of, like this would be his, like, I don't play that game, and he would have been like, if I see you show up again, I automatically know you're doing something to screw with us more than you're trying to help us at this point.
Just a little bit of pushback, just a little bit like,
yes.
Why would you do that? Just a little something. I think that would have put this episode just right over the top. Like, that's the only thing that was missing from this episode. Like we said earlier, like in 2000X when Adam's kind of like, like, this is a scene I would have liked to see with that Mike Young Productions teen Adam, because he would have been like, you did all this just to test me. Like, well, I mean, kind of like in 2000X when he finds out that Zodak willingly gave up his staff to Cobra Khan and Ratlor and Evil Lyn to release King Hiss. Like, that's the one part it was missing that I really wish. And it didn't have to be big. They didn't have to go as far as to, like, if I see you here again, but just a little bit of question, a little bit of anger, because that is this is a big thing here. But I know they wanted to keep it, friendly for the kids or whatever. But I think He-Man would be allowed to get a little angry here. But yeah, other than that, this solid episode, great characterization. Let me see here if there's anything else here I want to bring up. No, yeah, I think we got about all of it. So, closing thoughts on this one, Sean.
You heard me the other night. I was very impressed how much this one did it for me compared to what I was remembering it as. And there is like, I like that this one is the one where it's like starting to dig into the mythos of the the center of the universe and the starseed concept and all that. So I really think that's cool, because that's why I love the Mike Young Productions version, is they set those things up and they're usually in play throughout. So this is one of those things that it's like, this is what it is.
Right.
And I enjoy that quite a lot. And the whole idea, He-Man looking at something and going, I could eliminate everything that I have to fight against. I don't have to fight anymore. I can do it how I think it would work best for everybody. And that is chilling in a certain way, because it's like, he could have.
Right.
That's all he had to do, was he had to just, do it. And I really like that they put him to the test there. So, yeah, I love it. I mean, the little bits that we made fun of, or that we pointed out, to me are way smaller than the overall goodness of the episode for me.
No, yeah, like I said, my nitpicks, I know I was nitpicking, but I've never gotten to talk about that kind of stuff before. So, but it's definitely a small portion. I enjoyed the episode immensely last night, or yesterday when I watched, whenever. Great story, great characterization, great pacing. Yeah, I think we've said about all of it. Like I said, honestly, I'm going to go a 9 out of 10, because the only thing bringing it down for me, and not even the Orko stuff, is just that finale scene. It needed to just, there needed to be just a little bit more on He-Man, if they had just had a scene with He-Man calling Zodak out on all his baloney, then it would have been a 10 for me. So
I
just slightly
I
below,
thought
I'm
you
going
were
9 out of 10.
I thought you were definitely going to say the drill.
No, like I said, I understand
the drill logistics.
that's just me. I'm not going to hold that against I'm not going to hold anything cartoony against the episode. Like I said,
Yeah.
for me,
Okay. All
it's the
right.
minor orco-ness, and that ending scene is just missing that little bit to make it a perfect episode. And honestly, if He-Man had called out Zodak in that final scene, I would have ignored the Orko and I would have given it a 10 out of 10. But other
Nice.
than
All
that,
right.
it's a 9 out of 10. It was highly
Um,
enjoyable.
I I think if I out of 10, I'll probably do an 8 out of 10. I won't go 9 completely. There's still like it's either the Zodak moment at the end, like we talked about, or there's something about there needed to be like one more thing to push it over the edge with just like He-Man going through the paces to get to the Star Seed or something. And the whole switcheroo thing, it wasn't necessary, and the way it was done, that did make me just like you said, it made me roll my eyes and go, you're not going to feel that that's a rubber ball,
Right.
like really. So there's that kind of stuff, and I think the one other thing for me was there wasn't like, other than the transformation, anytime they used the He-Man theme in this one, it felt like it was not as epic feeling to me as other moments where it's like the race against time and there's these heroic moments. It's more, like they kept that tone down in this one compared to the overall idea of what was happening. But the mythology elements for me are just like, man, was that good stuff. That gave me chills just going like, I love seeing the beginnings of this mythology in Filmation, and it moves into other stuff, and it's like, this is the world they're building, the universe they're building.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Yeah, I didn't even think about the music there till you mentioned it. And they really didn't use it except for, I think, when he was smashing his way out of the rocks is the only time I remember it being used.
He did the little jump and the rocks fell down, and they used a tiny little bit of the theme, and that was it. And I was like, man, for an episode where he's going the way he has to go to beat Skeletor, you'd think they'd give him a couple more fanfares here or there. And instead it's very, no, you got this. We don't need to turn it on for you. You're good.
No, yeah, you'd really think that when he's turning evil from the Starseed, and when he decides, no, I can't do this, I need to be good, you'd really think it would be played up in that, like it'd be that kind of like in Diamond Ray where it's going dark and
That's
ominous,
what I was thinking.
and then when he's crushing the Diamond Ray, it like comes back up. Like, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
That would have been. I'm surprised they didn't. Honestly, that's odd.
I'm figuring the only reason they didn't do that was because it did already happen in Diamond Ray, because that would have been such a, we're doing it again. The whole, the thing, he disappears. Oh my God, the whole He-Man, don't go away. And then, like that was the moment as a kid where you're like, is this it? And then all of a sudden the theme song, you're like, this isn't it. But in this case, it wasn't nearly as visually as that in this case. So
it was also like 35 episodes ago, if I'm reading this episode number correctly. So,
all right. So these are just me throwing things at the wall to see what sticks in my logic on this stuff.
No, I completely agree. You're not wrong. Now that you've said it, I can't unsee it. So.
But there's something peanut butter and jelly to me of, you have these heroic moments that should be playing somehow, especially with Filmation. And there was a little bit of like that was it.
Right.
At the end of the episode, we didn't get many of those moments. So.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else.
Nope, I'm good.
All right. So this is the time when I ask you all, please like, share, subscribe. Find us on Facebook at Legends of Grayskull. Find Sean's art over at October Sun Art. We have the links down below.
Yep.
I also want to put a little plug out there. Yuka Isakanen, he just released a new video this morning where he's comparing the Mike Young Productions intro to the Filmation intro. Go ahead and check it out. And while you're there, look at the rest of his stuff. He's under Toon Yuka, which is Jukka. Over on YouTube. He's got a wealth of information. He's a very knowledgeable guy and some great videos over there. I'm going to drop a link down below to him as well. Check it out if you want to know more about all this stuff that we discuss. And I think that's it. I think I didn't mess it up this week.
And Yuka, he's really knowledgeable, especially if you're a 2000X
Yes.
guy. He's a wealth of information about that series, and like I'm never going to go toe to toe with him. There's no way around it. I love 2000X, but he loves it more. So
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, he's definitely the guy for that.
He knows it all. So, all right. So thank you all for listening. We hope you've enjoyed it. And until next time.
Until next time.